Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and today we're going to talk about Dungeons and Dragons, tabletop role playing games, and two great American basketball champions. And that is Michael Jordan and LeBron James. I think there's an opportunity to understand tabletop role playing games in a better way, based specifically around what is happening right now with LeBron James. So LeBron James has recently won his fourth basketball championship. It's a pretty incredible accomplishment, and and it puts him only Michael Jordan and LeBron James have done this in the modern basketball era. I think really early on, when basketball's rules were really not defined well, there was a few people who got a lot of rings all at once, but a lot of people don't really count that just because basketball had almost a reshaping in the '80s. And since then, the game has become incredibly competitive, and it's truly an international game. So what's happening right now is LeBron James has won his fourth national NBA championship, and the world is doing two things. They're celebrating him, and then they are also questioning him. There's a large group of people who are just, super excited about LeBron James' accomplishment. But there's also a large number of people who are taking great enjoyment in very specifically declaring that LeBron James is second to Michael Jordan. Now, Michael Jordan won 6 NBA championships between 1991 and 1998. He did all of those with one team, which is pretty incredible. And actually, it's clear. There's no question that the two greatest players who ever played the game are LeBron James and Michael Jordan. The question is the GOAT question, the greatest of all times. It's a classic debate. It exists in rap, it exists in basketball, and guess what? It exists in tabletop role playing games. So how does it exist in tabletop role playing games? What does it mean in tabletop role playing games? Well, there's that classic question of who is the greatest of all times when it comes. What is the greatest of all times when it comes to tabletop role playing games? Is it Dungeons and Dragons, or is it powered by the? Is it Apocalypse World because it created a powered by the Apocalypse? Is it Blades in the Dark because it is the greatest sleeper game ever created and it's truly massive innovation in a tabletop role playing game? Is it Index Card RPG? A game that really has taken Dungeons and Dragons and made it incredibly accessible to anyone who wants to play, not just a number crunching, hyper focused combat simulator person. Is it The Watch? Because by a game that has done more to really allow tabletop role playing games to look at modern problems through the analogy of fantasy, right? Is it GURPS, which allowed people to truly play in one unified system across many, many different games? Is it Vampire the Masquerade, which launched the World of Darkness and really fully cemented LARP in a way that no other tabletop role playing game did? All these things are are big, 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 big questions, right? Now, I'm not going to bury the lead. I'm going to give you my opinions on what they are. But I think one of the things that we can really take as a lesson right now from this moment in time and really say and learn is that these are painful questions. The reality is, I think LeBron James is in some pain. Like, if you look at that gentleman, he has, just really, slam dunk, no pun intended, this huge accomplishment. And there's still this question of, and still Michael Jordan's name's in half the commentaries and half the even the factual stories, right? And also, it puts him against the wall because if he doesn't go get those other two, the discussion may never stop, right? Or if he doesn't get three more, right? Which frankly might not even be possible, right? It might be the same situation where it's always going to be harder to rack up these huge numbers because the game just keeps getting more and more competitive, right? So it's really really fascinating question. All right, so with all that said, I'll give you my 2 cents. Right, greatest basketball player that ever lived was Michael Jordan. No two ways about it. You know, and it's harsh, right? And I think one of the things I wanna say is I have an incredible amount of sympathy for LeBron James. It's frustrating to accomplish as much as he's accomplished and still get that answer from a lot of people. But I did watch The Last Dance. It is truly incredible documentary, and you can't really. Here's one of the biggest things, in my opinion. Michael Jordan really cemented the entire sneaker industry and created the sneakerhead movement, right? And I think that's part of it. I really do. I don't think it's isolated to just the game. Basketball lives beyond the court. It's a big deal, right? So that's my take. So what is the greatest tabletop role playing game of all times? It's Dungeons and Dragons, right? It's the granddaddy, right? And nothing else would be there if it weren't for Dungeons and Dragons. And so, I really think it's hard. It's hard. I have a tremendous amount of sympathy for John Harper and for Luke Crane and for Anna Creeder and for just Robin D. Laws and for just a long list of incredible creators. Brandish Gilhelm. These incredible tabletop role playing game creators. But the reality at this point is, in order to surpass Dungeons and Dragons, what you would have to do would be just so far out into the stratosphere that it'd be nearly impossible. And frankly, I just don't think it's been done yet. And also, yeah, I just don't think it's been done yet. It's just my 2 cents. The other issue is I actually read a really good article that talked about the LeBron James Michael Jordan debate needs to go away. I don't think that's the case. I really don't. I think the goat question is a question in everything. It's a question in every hobby. It's a question in every sport. And frankly, we as human beings, it's hard for us to communicate, right? And the goat debate is a huge, super fun debate, right? And I think it's a way for us to have a little abrasion, have a little bit of friction, and still be civil and still work to love one another. It's just words, right? And frankly, it's good for us to have some verbal skirmish because that replaces, in my opinion, a lot of actual skirmish, which we never want as humans. We never want to get there, right? I think it's another reason why Dungeons and Dragons is so popular. Is it allows people to kind of jump into a space that they normally isn't available to them. So those are my 2 takes. I think Dungeons and Dragons is the greatest tabletop role playing game that's ever existed. It's going to take a lot to unseat it. It may never be unseated. And frankly, I think Michael Jordan is the greatest basketball player that's ever lived. And I think LeBron James, he's got to get 3 more before anybody can say he grabs that GOAT title from Michael Jordan. All of that is my opinion, and I will absolutely love to hear your opinion. Tell me why I'm wrong. I'd love to hear it. Also, I do want to take just a moment and say congratulations, LeBron James. You're an incredible player. It's a huge accomplishment. All the best to you. And I acknowledge what you've done as truly an incredible feat within the human race, right? All that's my opinion. What do you think? Who's the greatest basketball player that ever lived? And what is the greatest tabletop role-playing game that's ever been created? And I would invite you to understand that all of us now understand a little more the pain of these creators who have tried to surpass Dungeons and Dragons and just haven't gotten there. I'd love to hear your opinion. Let me know what you think. Please consider liking and subscribing. Have a wonderful millennium.